It's Randy Miller, on his own terms, at randymillerradio.com.
People say the blues is just a good man feeling bad. I don't know about you, that's not the kind of blues I have. I'm a bad man.
I'm a bad man.
I'm feeling good. Yes, I'm a bad man. Let's get that understood.
Hey, let's get a lot of things understood here because, first of all, this guy that we're talking to today is just, he's a prince of a man. He's a prince of a man. He's a true professional. Jeff Burey, a lot of people know him throughout the Kansas City area. I met Jeff as the director of golf, right?
Yes.
At Wolf Creek Country Club. And Jeff, I want to say it was like 2006, 2007, around there. And I joined Wolf Creek, and man, I was so happy to find a guy like you, because you never know when you join a club. You never know what you're going to get, right? I mean, you've been around the golf business your entire life, so you know that for sure. I mean, sometimes you get good to see you, sometimes you get how big's your wallet. I mean, you can
Right.
you get all that kind of stuff. But it was just so great to find you and to get to know you and your principles and your life. And I'm so glad to have you here. Jeff has written a great book called Blessed: Stories in the Life of a Golf Professional. And I mean, things that I had never knew about you. And the things that you've accomplished and done. You're such a humble guy. And I talked the other day, I think we're both pretty blessed in our careers and just what we've been able to get to do in our life, right? I was looking at pictures the other day of me flying with the Blue Angels. What? What? And the experiences that you've had throughout your golf profession are just sensational. So welcome to Randy Miller Radio.
Well, thank you, Randy. It's a pleasure to be here, and really excited anticipating this, and just known you for a long time, and I love the way you work, and I think we'll have a great conversation.
Well, and the other thing is, when you are working in the golf business, as you and I have talked about, it's such a networking business. I mean, you get to know everybody, and I love golf. I love to play golf. It's kind of an obsession. I think if you play golf at all, it's either an obsession or it's just something that you don't even think about. Well, you think about it a lot. And I don't know, now does your wife, Kathy, play golf?
Well, Randy, great question. Kathy and I have been married 44 years.
All right. I've been married to Renee for 40 now.
And when Kathy's asked that question, her answer is not yet. And she's been asked that question for probably 45 years since we met.
Well, let me tell you what just happened in our family. So Renee indicated about a year ago, she said, what if I started playing golf? And I said, okay, yeah. And she said, wouldn't that be a good thing? I said, it'd be great because we do a lot of camping and we do a lot. I said, absolutely. So we started, and I started just kind of with the fundamentals with her, just from what I knew. And I said, number one, don't do anything that I do. You start with that.
Right.
But she's got a pretty natural swing. But now, Jeff, I've created a monster.
She's addicted?
I mean, I still want to go out and play with my buddies.
Yeah.
And she's like, so when are we playing? Are we going to the driving range? Are we? She is on it. She ordered some kind of a golf teaching aid. And we've all ordered, 1,000 of them, and 999 are crap. And so she ordered this thing that you put in the yard and you can swing and hit the ball. And I go, you actually ordered this? And she said, oh yeah, I want to get better. I want to be good. So we so far have played at Unity Village.
Okay. That's an executive course.
Yeah, a little nine-hole course over there. And it's been fun. It's been great. So she's just too polite. That's the thing that I've found about a lot of, especially female golfers. They're very polite. You go. No, you go. No, you go. You go. You go. You go. Go. Go.
Hit it. Hit it.
Yeah, but it's been fun, and that's another thing about golf. It's just such a it's a thread that runs through your life once you get started, right? I mean, you know that better than anybody, but especially in Kansas City. You've been here for how long? You got here.
Well, we came in 1981.
You were just before me. I get here in '84.
Okay. Well, we came in '81 from Pinehurst, North Carolina.
Right.
And
now don't skip by that now.
Okay.
Pinehurst, North Carolina. Pinehurst #2, which is a legendary.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a course! I got to play there one time, and it's one of those courses that you dream about.
It's the mecca of golf in
It is.
the United States for sure.
Yep.
I mean, it's still so special for us. We go back at least once a year, sometimes twice, and it's like we never left. So we left there in 1981, in February of '81, and made Kansas City home. And it's been great.
That's what we did. And I mean, of course, in the meantime, I was fired about 7 times and left and came back. But you managed to stay here. And you were hired at Wolf Creek.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And at that time, Wolf Creek, it's always been known as a golfer's club. Right?
It's a pure golf club.
Yeah. You go there to play golf.
Yeah.
But talk about some of the members that were there when you were there. I mean,
well, it's kind of interesting. The members were fascinating. Mostly all the sports people in town were members. I mean, just because it was so isolated and quiet, and they could go out there and just get away from the big game.
Right.
And we had, George Brett was out there, of course, and Tom Watson's out there now. And,
Marty Schottenheimer.
There's just, Steve Palermo, the Major League umpire, played there. There's so many stories about those folks. And because of them, we'd see a lot of other people. They're just from the sports world, from the
Gay Brewer, who won the Masters, and I mean, all of these guys that would come out there and I say guys because it's guys.
Yeah, Wolf Creek is unique. It's a pure golf club. It's all men. And
I got a little grief about that, by the way, when I joined Wolf Creek for my wife.
Yeah,
just because I think there are 2 times a year that women can come out. It's for the member guest dinner, maybe.
Yeah, Christmas party
and the Christmas party. So my guest at the member guest that first year, when I told my wife Renee that she was allowed to go. She conspired with my buddy's wife. They were going to dress up in tuxedos, which luckily never happened. But no, she went and had a great time. So,
well, it obviously, in some ways, maybe isn't politically correct, but it's all done within the law,
right?
And I love a quick story, Randy. My daughter went to the all-Catholic girls' high school, Sion, Notre Dame de Sion.
Sure.
And she was on the golf team as a freshman, and the coach asked her if, how she liked it that her daddy worked at a golf club that only men could play.
Right.
And as this a freshman in high school get you? And she says, Coach, she said, my brother can't go to school here.
Ooh.
Which was a pretty good line. So
pretty good answer, yeah.
So I think Wolf Creek is just golf. I mean, it's pure golf. No swimming, no tennis, no social. It's just golf, golf, golf. And I would say that at least half of the members are members at a second club as well.
Sure.
And,
Jeff, in your book here, Blessed. I love this about Wolf Creek. You talk about nicknames for people there. You say we had Monkey, Booby, Peaches, Tree, Dr. Bazaar, Raymar, Turkey, Viking, Bucket Mouth, Helmet Head. That's the other thing that golfers do. They just give each other a nickname.
Oh, yeah.
Spud, Diet Coke, Tinkerbell, Myler Moore, Jumbo. I mean, everybody had some kind of a nickname, right?
Absolutely. And and I mean, and I swear, some people didn't really know the names of people. They just knew the nickname.
Right.
And Turkey. Hey, there, Turkey's here.
Yeah.
You know, and
there's a guy that we play with named White Walker. I have no idea what his name is.
Right.
You know, it's just one of those things.
well, it's it's amazing. It's sororities, fraternities. Wolf Creek is like a big fraternity.
Yeah.
And
it
really,
is.
with the common denominator being golf. I mean, they're just. It doesn't matter whether a person is a scratch tour caliber player, and
Right.
and they have a bunch of those out there as members. I mean, with Gary Woodland, Tom Watson, Rob Streb, Tom Pernice. I mean, tour players, and then they have people who are 25, 30 handicappers.
Yeah.
But they love the game as much as anybody. And
That's what I loved about Wolf Creek at my time there, and I thought Wolf Creek. I think it's one of the toughest courses I've ever played. I really do.
Well, yeah, I think Wolf Creek is very difficult, not because it's overly long, although it has been lengthened, but there's so many cross hazards. The creek tends to dissect. So many
I've been
holes.
in all of those cross hazards.
So forced carries in the game are really challenging because when you have to navigate a waterway and multiple times, it's so that really adds to it, and you know it's just in such pristine condition all the time, and it's just really great.
Toby Keith wrote a song about my golf game. I don't know if have you heard that song?
Not sure.
So do we have it, Andy?
I'm a shitty golfer, you can ask my wife. I've been out there hacking every day of my life. I got the shorts and all the plaid sweaters. That new tailor-made driver didn't make me any better. Man, I hit 'em fat and I hit 'em thin. I roll 'em in the bunkers, man, I hit 'em again.
I love
in
it.
the bushes, crank 'em in the creek. I pop that sucker up and hook it out in the street. Yeah, I'm 245, right down the middle, and I miss a green to the left just a little. Chili dip a wedge and put it all together. Hit that son of a bitch right up there in the leather, if you call that good. And let me press on the side. You can put me down for a fight.
Oh, fantastic! That's great. Oh, yeah,
That's my game except the 245 down the middle.
Yeah.
What's your best score at Wolf Creek?
Ooh, I shot 69 one time. And
we were in the presence of greatness.
Well, that I've also shot 89, probably.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing about golf. I mean, I'm trying to explain to my wife about this. You know, I one day she was complaining about her, feeling bad about her shots. I said, "Let's go to the driving range and just watch people for a little bit."
oh boy.
And then she felt all of a sudden better. You know. We're talking to Jeff Burey here, and Jeff, I want to ask you about one phenomenal section of your book called Blessed. And where can you get this book, by the way?
Through the Kansas Golf Foundation. I think it's kansasgolffoundation.org.
Okay.
And it all goes to junior golf. All the proceeds from the book
that's so
goes
cool.
to junior golf.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
But you've met so many great people in golf, and then you had this hunting trip that you went on with George Brett,
Tony Adams.
Tony Adams, who I've done a little work with Tony Adams when he was doing his hunting videos.
Yes.
And
Dave Owen.
Dave Owen, the former lieutenant governor of Kansas.
Right.
And you describe that a little bit because, number one, I don't think, had you ever been hunting? This kid from Connecticut?
This kid from Connecticut, Navy veteran, had never fired a gun and never been hunting. As a kid, I had a bow and arrow or a slingshot or something, but I've never
BB
really.
gun, maybe.
Yeah, where I have a brother who's an avid hunter, but I had never really done that. So Dave Owen, who's a very, very good friend, and he was at the time working with the Stevens companies in Arkansas at Little Rock, and Jack Stevens, who happened to be chairman of Augusta National, had a plantation, hunting plantation down in South Georgia near Valdosta. And Dave said, hey, they want to send the jet up and take some of us down to hunt. He says, do you think George Brett would want to go? And so I contacted George, or Dave did, I guess, and Tony Adams and George were pretty good friends.
Right.
So the four of us flew to Valdosta, and we had an experience that was, I would say it would be similar to having your first football game you ever saw be a Super Bowl. And
Right.
it was unbelievable.
Right.
We flew into Valdosta. They picked us up in a big Suburban. We went to this plantation house where we had.
You described the meal.
Oh, the meal was unbelievable. It's just Southern. I mean,
Oh.
it was just absolutely unbelievable.
They just laid it on.
They did.
They laid it
breakfast,
on.
lunch, and dinner.
Oh, yeah.
All three.
Yeah.
And I mean, from the grits in the morning to the
Biscuits and gravy. And
the whole.
you made this guy from Knoxville. When I'm reading that, I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Well, it was so fun because George Brett was in the kitchen cooking with the ladies, and we had a great day. But it was pretty interesting. A great couple days. It was real interesting because they had was it a skeet or trap range where you warm up, and so that's the first time I fired the gun.
First time you fired a gun.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, so anyhow, this clay goes up, and they say, "Kogi, you swing it like a golf club, Jeff." And I swing it around and I fire, and then I hear behind me, pop, pop. Tony Adams knocks the clay out of the sky.
Is that right?
Because all three of those guys were avid hunters
Right,
and
right.
outdoorsmen.
But not only hunting, you had to be on a horse.
Yes, that was part of the big part of the story. There's a holster on the horse, and your shotgun goes in the holster, and there's a hack. And a hack is a mule-drawn cart that has kennels on it, and there's 4 pairs of dogs. And they would put 2 dogs out to kind of go point the birds out.
Right.
And all the birds are stocked. I mean, they're
Right.
all so
You're going to hit something.
yeah, they've got it ready. So anyhow, this is again my first experience. So this hack comes up the country dirt road to the plantation house, and there's 4 horses bridled to the back of the hack. And I looked at that and I said, wait a minute, Owen, Tony Adams, George Brett.
There's one for me.
One for me.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the handler told me, he said, now you get this horse. This is Mr. Stevens' horse. His name is Lightning. Lightning. And so
That's always inspires confidence.
I said, I've never ridden a horse.
Yeah.
So they said, well, just get up on it. The horse will direct you.
Right.
And sure enough, it was pretty easy. And it was pretty easy until the end of the first morning. We had been out and they had gotten a bunch of birds, and I'd kind of watched. And they decided we were going to go back for lunch and take a break. And so they decided to sprint, take off.
Yeah.
And
gallop.
Gallop is the word, I guess. Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
I'm a golf pro, not a horseman.
That's right.
And I'll never forget. Old Lightning says, "I'm not going to wait for these guys," and took off. And I mean, honest to goodness, Randy, I wet my pants. I mean, it was.
So you're leading. You're leading the pack.
No,
here.
Lightning didn't get ahead of him, but he didn't want to be far behind.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to tell you that those are the horses you don't want to be riding. The ones that are trying to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was me.
Oh, that's funny.
Me.
That's funny.
Well, what's funny is we went in for lunch, and there was as you drove into this place, there was a pond there, and after we hunted in the afternoon, Dave, I think, said, there are a lot of fish in that pond, and the guy said, oh, bunch of bass, a lot of bass. So we went over, and the 3 of them got on a bass boat and went out in the deal, and I'm on the shoreline. Trying to catch a fish.
Right.
I'm not getting a nibble. I'm getting mosquito bites. And George Brett is pulling these fish in, and it turns out he's pulling the same fish in every time, and he's just putting on a show for me, and I didn't realize that for about 10 minutes. So I looked like he
so he never took the fish off
the hook. And So anyhow, it's I don't know
That's
if
funny.
he'll remember that.
Oh,
but,
that's funny.
Oh my goodness, he was. Yeah.
What an experience, though.
Yeah.
I mean, so I've ridden horses not my entire life, but since I met my wife. She's a horse trainer. And so Renee's been a horse trainer forever. And so it was required that I ride a horse. And so I've ridden horses now for, over 40 years. And didn't really enjoy it at first, but then when you come to know, about maybe how to stay on and not suffer a concussion, it's a lot better. But I give you a lot of credit for just jumping into a situation like that.
Well, when you're in Rome,
Of course, you're a Navy man, so
Oh yeah. But the one thing with that flight, that trip down there too, they sent, I believe it was a Falcon jet from Stevens Companies, and
now talk about the other thing though, Jeff. So this was kind of arranged for Jack Stevens to meet George Brett.
Well, I kind of surmised that. I didn't know that, but I think Jack Stevens was supposed to come over to visit his place and meet George. And it never happened.
Yeah.
What did happen, though, is John Sherholtz, who was with the Braves at the time, he came down and had dinner with us one second night, I guess it was. And that was interesting, because he, of course, had a great career here in Kansas City and then Atlanta. And but when we went down there, this Falcon jet, there was a snowstorm in Kansas City. And and we took off from downtown airport in the snow, and we were above the clouds in seemed like seconds, and we were in Valdosta, Georgia, in no time.
Really?
I mean, it was like, I felt like I was, being wined and dined.
That's top notch right there. To
amazing.
have all of that going on, and especially with George and with Tony.
Well,
Tony Adams is just a cool guy, isn't he?
Oh, he is. He's just. People don't realize that the Super Bowl year when the Chiefs won Super Bowl 3, I guess it was. He subbed for Lenny. A lot that year.
Right.
He played a lot, and Tony's played in a lot of football leagues and a lot of games, and he's really done a lot for the city. He's involved with the golf, the golf group in town, and
I want to get to what you're doing right now, but we're talking about your book, Blessed: Stories in the Life of a Golf Professional. Talk about the best golfer you've ever met.
The best golfer I've ever met.
The best overall player you've ever met. Is it?
Well, it's probably Jack Nicklaus. I've been near Tiger, but I've never really met him.
Right.
But but Jack Nicklaus used to come to Pinehurst, and no one loved Arnold Palmer more than me. But Jack Nicklaus, boy, his career was unbelievable.
And you talk about meeting Arnie in the book too.
Yeah,
that had to be a thrill.
Yeah, but Jack, it's just his career was unbelievable. What an honor to be working a little bit with Tom Watson and his career. Our local guy. People don't realize he's an icon.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Gigantic.
Yes, there is a Tom Watson putter in every charity auction.
Yep.
Signed by Tom. But yeah, absolutely. People. I think sometimes people in Kansas City don't realize how big Tom Watson is. In the sport.
It's gigantic, and he does things so well. Everything he does well. And I just really admire what he's doing with his Watson Links, which is a mentoring program, and what he's done for just this community, all the things he's done. And, I get to go to his office. I have reason to be there.
Now you're designing tiny courses with him, right?
Yeah, well, I'm doing these little golf courses called WE Links, W-E
I love that.
Links, and they're 6 holes, a total of 150 yards. So the longest hole's 30 yards.
Right.
And I can play it with a wedge and a putter. And there's no better way to introduce anybody to the game of golf than to learning to play from a teeing ground and to a hole.
Especially kids.
Yeah, especially kids. Yeah. but like your wife. I mean, what a great
Yeah,
place to go
right.
play because the holes are 5 inches in diameter instead of 4.
That's perfect.
6 inches.
What are
in
you talking
diameter.
about? My wife? That's good for me.
Yeah.
That's perfect for me.
But what happens is that you have all the same emotions you would have playing a regulation golf course on this little 6-hole golf
Right.
course. So you eliminate the cost issue, the time issue, and the frustration of navigating bunkers and water hazards and everything. And
Right.
you just learn to play the game in a wee way.
That's
small
cool.
way.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Just for the pleasure of it, the pure pleasure of it.
Oh, Heritage Park is really, really good. And we did that out there last fall. And this summer it was really fun. There were 900 kids from the Johnson County Parks and
wow.
Rec program from 5 years old to 11 years old
Wow.
that played golf on the Wee Links this summer.
Wow.
Supervised.
900 kids.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty amazing.
So, Jeff, we were just talking about it's just fun to tell golf stories. For me, for you, for anybody who plays golf, it's just one of those things. So, by the way, it took me 30 years, had my first hole-in-one this year.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Isn't that?
Thank you. It's unbelievable. I never thought it would happen. And it happened at Adams Point, number 17. It was 162 yards. I hit a 7-wood and did not see it go into the hole because it's kind of an uphill.
Right.
And so my cart partner, we're riding up there, and he says, "Oh, you must have gone long." And I said, "Yeah, I probably went long." He goes and looks in the cup because I'm not going to look in the cup. He looks in the cup and he goes, "I found it," and I said some words that we can't say, but he said, "No, he pulled it out of the cup." And then he took credit for it. He said, "I kind of coached you up."
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. He did everything but make the swing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
But I mean, what an experience that is. How many have you had?
Well, I think 5, but Well, I'll tell you.
I think 5.
Well, there's a story. The story isn't in the book, but there's one question. Well, the story it's a little bit in the story about when I was a caddy before I caddied. I played golf in Connecticut as a junior golfer, and there was one club in town. It was a private club, and I would sneak on there every night and play.
Yeah.
And the golf
And
course,
you were how old?
I was 13,
Okay.
12 years old.
Okay.
And the golf course superintendent, I wasn't supposed to be doing that. And the golf course superintendent drove a Jeep, and I would hear the Jeep coming. And when the Jeep came, I'd be like a roach. I would run and I'd hide.
Right.
I'd dive in the bushes.
The lights are coming.
Yeah. Well, one day I would always start on the second hole because they couldn't see you from the golf shop on the second hole, and I played to the 8th hole. And
Man, you had it down.
Yeah. The second hole was a elevated par 3, sort of like your 17th one you described.
Right.
And it was short, and I would always play 2 balls. One was Jack and one was Arnie. And I hit 2 shots, and I knew they were both good up on the elevated green, but I couldn't see them. And as I started to pick up my golf bag, I heard the Jeep coming. So I dove in the bushes, and the Jeep went up the hill to where the green was. And anyhow, the superintendent turned on the water, the sprinkling system on the green.
Right.
And then he drove off, and I crawled out of the bushes and went up. And well, one ball was about 6 feet from the hole, and the other ball was in the hole. Now, fast forward 3 years later, the superintendent got so tired of chasing me off the course that he hired me to work. And his name was Pellegrin Festa.
Pellegrin Festa.
And he was Italian guy. And all the guys on the crew were Italian, and they all talked Italian all day.
Sure.
And I was the only Hungarian. So anyhow, I worked summers after school, and that way I could play every day in the evening.
Right.
Legally as an employee. But I would ask him, I would say, "Mr. Festa, did you put that ball in the hole?" And he never would tell me.
Really?
He never would tell me.
Really?
And so I don't know.
So you might have had your first hole-in-one at 13.
Yeah. And that was at Shorehaven Golf Club. Yeah.
Okay.
And But I had one at Wolf Creek. I had
That's
a couple,
great.
two at Pinehurst.
That's great, Jeff. That's great.
The Jim McKay hole-in-one story is the good one in the book.
Yeah, talk about that one. That was pretty good.
yeah.
Jim McKay, by the way, if you don't know, was an incredible golf announcer. I mean, he announced a lot of things.
Olympics. And
Olympics.
golf.
Yeah. Right.
Kentucky Derby.
Yes. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, he was amazing. Jim McKay lived in Westport, and he was a member at Shorehaven. And as a young caddy, when I first started, I carried one bag. I wasn't quite big enough to carry two.
Right.
And, so one evening after school, I'm out there in the caddy yard, and it's kind of a New England day, overcast, misty, and nobody's there, and there's 6 or 7 caddies in the yard.
Right.
And caddy master comes back and says, "Hey, I got a loop, a single." And one of the big older caddies said, "Who is it?" And he said, "Oh, it's Mr. McKay." Well, they all kind of hesitated. They said, "He's not a very good golfer. One bag, I don't know if I want to work 2 hours and carry one bag." I said, "I'll take it. I'll go." So knowing he was a high handicapper, it didn't matter. I mean, Jim McKay, everyone knew who Jim McKay was.
Sure.
Actually, his name is Jim McManus.
Really?
And,
I didn't know that.
And Sean McManus with CBS is his son.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
really?
So that's kind of interesting.
Huh,
Jim.
yeah.
So Mr. McKay and I tee off, and I say we tee off because I'm right there with him, and he does like I expect. He double bogeys and bogeys the first 4 holes, right. And we get to the 5th hole, and I got to describe it. It's probably a 210-yard par 3 downhill. And we get there, and the tee's really elevated. And
what's it playing?
What's it playing?
What's it playing?
Probably about 180.
About 180,
maybe 190.
Right.
So I hand him his driver. He's a little guy, and he doesn't hit it very far.
Right.
And he just scrunches it right on the screws. In the old days, the Persimmon clubs had screws in the face. And that ball went. It made a different sound. It landed about 20 yards short of the green. It bounced twice. It rolled up on the green, and it went in the hole. And he looks at me and he says, "Jeff, did that ball go in the hole?" And again, I can't believe what I've just seen. It's the first hole in one. It's the first hole in one I've ever seen.
Okay.
And
except for your own.
Well, which I don't know if it was that one, but that's the first one I ever saw go in the hole.
Okay, gotcha.
And so he says, "This is unbelievable." He said, "I've never even hit this green ever in my whole time here at Shorehaven. I've never hit this green, but now I've made a hole in one." And he says to me, "We can't tell anybody." And now I'm so excited. I mean, you can't believe it. And I said, "What do you mean we can't tell anybody?" And he said, "Everybody knows I'm a terrible golfer, and no one will believe us. There's just the two of us here, so they won't believe us." So, okay, we play the 6th, 7th, and 8th, 9th hole, and he makes bogeys and double bogeys. So I don't think he's made a par. He's made all bogeys and double bogeys in a hole in one. So he signs a little ticket to for me to get paid, and he puts a nice tip on there. And now, fast forward, I spend almost 5 years in the Navy. I go to a short time to college, and I'm at Pinehurst, and I'm the head golf professional. And the Hall of Fame Classic comes, and it's a gigantic event. It's the highest purse on tour, Goodyear Blimp, ABC Television, and Jim McKay's the anchor.
Right.
And I haven't seen him since the day he made the hole in one. So I'm in my office, and my secretary says, "Hey, Jeff," he says, "Mr. McKay's on the phone. Jim McKay's on the phone, and he wants to talk to you." I said, "Great, send it back." So a call comes back, and he says, "Hey, can you meet me at the hotel, the Carolina, the big hotel, and have a Coke? And I want to catch up." And so I said, "Sure." So I jump in a golf cart, and I drive down Carolina Vista over to the hotel, and we get there, and it starts off, he had just done the Olympics when they had all that tragedy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and he was the anchor for that.
Yes.
And I was in England at the time when that happened, but I knew about all the stuff he had done.
Was it Munich?
Munich, yeah. The Israelis were,
sure.
Yeah. So anyhow, and he's saying how proud he is of me. I mean, from a caddy to now head professional at golf
At
club,
Pinehurst.
running 5-6 golf courses.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, he's asking me questions about number 2 and Donald Ross and about the history. I think he's gathering information for the broadcast.
Sure.
So we probably spent 30 minutes together, and he sets it up for me to go up in the blimp and stuff and do some things. But I'm about to leave, and he says, "Hey, I got to ask you a question." He said, "Did you ever tell anybody our secret?" And I said, "Oh, my goodness." I said, "Mr. McKay, I told my mom, my dad, my Uncle Lou, my cousins, told the caddy master, all the caddies.
That's right.
I told everybody."
That's right.
And he said, "Well, what'd they say?" And I said, "Nobody believed me." It was perfect.
Oh, that is great.
Nobody believed me.
Jeff, I have a very practical golf question for you, because I make a lot of tee times now. I've been very, very blessed to have been part of a couple of great clubs here in Kansas City. When I came back from one time when I was fired, and I came back from Cincinnati, they offered me a contract at Q104 and said, "We know you like to play golf. We will give you a membership to any club that you want."
Wow.
And so I did the research, and we were living in, I think we bought a house in Shawnee, and I said, "I'd love to join Shadow Glen." So boom, I'm a member of Shadow Glen. Fantastic course. I mean, fantastic people.
Right.
The pro there at the time was great, and just had a great time. I was there like 10 years. So now I've moved to Missouri, and which I love it out here, but I'm making a lot of tee times at some of the public courses. So why I don't know if it's the assistant pro or whoever it is that you call that answers the phone in the pro shop, you make the tee times. Why are they all so surly? They're all so surly.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I know why. Because for that 2 minutes of time, they are in control of your destiny.
Yeah.
Right? So I just want to demonstrate something. You act like you're calling me and I'm at a pro shop.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just say I'm at Creekmore, just for the sake of argument. All right.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Hello, Creekmore.
Hello, Jeff Burey calling. I'm wondering if I could get a tee time.
What day are you looking at?
Tomorrow if I could in the morning.
How many people?
Well, it's my wife and I, and we have another couple. There's 4 of us.
Yeah, no. Nope.
Well, what do you have?
A lot of events. We have a lot of events. We got an event every day till November. First we have is next Tuesday at 4:15. Is that good?
Well, if that's all you have, I mean, I guess.
Oh, that was just taken.
Okay. Oh, how frustrating this is.
Yeah. Nothing I can do, pal. That's all we got. How many?
Well, there were 4 of them.
Yeah. That will not work with me. Okay.
Wow. When I think about that, I think 27 years.
That's my experience, Jeff.
27 years at my club in Olathe, and I will tell you, when I interviewed for the job, the president of the club said, "We have never had a tee time, and we never will."
That was one of the reasons I came to Wolf Creek. Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah, that's
We've
incredible.
never had a tea time, and we never will. Now, we would get busy at times, and you have to be creative and start people on number 10 and number holes. But we never did have an official tea time. Yeah.
What is the best public course in Kansas City?
Ooh, good question.
According
There's
to
a
Jeff
lot of
Burey.
good ones now.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
And again, some are semi-private, I guess.
I'll give you top 3.
Okay, let's see. I think Iron Horse is pretty good.
Iron Horse is great.
Sycamore Ridge is pretty good.
Yep. Yep.
I like Tomahawk's not bad.
It depends on the year. Depends on the year.
Fred Urbanus is okay.
It's fine.
But I think some of the courses out
Falcon Ridge is not bad.
Falcon Ridge, I've never played Falcon Ridge.
Really?
No.
Yeah, Falcon. I used to have a regular match with Kevin Keatsman at Falcon Ridge, and I beat him every year except for one, and that was the one he talked about on the radio.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah,
but no, Falcon Ridge is a great one. How about the best three private? The best three.
Well, I think the private courses are, that's when someone says, "What's the best course in the world?" And they're all different. And
sure,
I mean,
that's true.
But here I would say,
but if I said, okay, I've never been to Kansas City, I'm flying in, I've got 2 days, I want to play 2 courses, 2 private courses. Where do I play?
Well, the sleeper is Millburn. I think Millburn's a great golf course, and I think it's just a fun course to play. Yep. It's real fair, and the country club courses. I think Mission and Kansas City are great. Shadow's good. Wolf Creek's great. Yep. So, I mean, I'm going to name you 5 for 3.
Right. My only problem with Millburn is that Herndon Hasty used to be a member there.
Oh, I remember Herndon.
Do you know Herndon?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I tell you, the golf community in Kansas City is pretty small, right?
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, you know one person, you know them all. Talk about your experience playing Augusta. I've been lucky enough to go to the Masters twice, but to play Augusta.
Well, yeah, this is really talk about blessed.
Oh man,
we did a summer camp for juniors at Pinehurst, and we would have I think 4 weeks of camps, and we'd have 30 to 50 kids in each camp, and they came from all over the country and would stay for 4 days in the golf and tennis villas. And every year there was a group of kids from Augusta that would come, and there would be 15 or 20 of them. And 2 of the boys had such a great time, and it happened their dads were doctors in Augusta and members.
At Augusta?
At Augusta National. Yeah, they were members at Augusta Country Club and Augusta National because Augusta's closed, National's closed in the summer. And so they belong to the Augusta Country Club, which is right next door to Augusta National. And so Dr. Harper, and there's some stories in the book about these trips. But
I love that story.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Harper just was so impressed, and Dr. Pennington, with what we did at Pinehurst with their kids, and that they invited me to come to Augusta every spring and every fall and bring one person with me. Wow. And stay in the clubhouse, in the rooms there.
And his name was never Randy. Odd.
No. I thought it was good. Good politics to take the president of the club. Just in case, that was.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Kind of. But we've had. I actually have had 4 trips to Augusta to play, and been there multiple times for the practice rounds, one time for the weekend. Wow! But yeah,
what did you shoot at Augusta?
My first time I played Augusta, I shot 74 from the white tees. Oh, wow. Now, they were the member tees. They're not the tournament tees. I probably would have shot 80,
Oh, sorry.
But
sorry that 80 would have bothered you.
But I'll never forget this. I had some moments that were the first round I ever played. I got it up and down on 1 for par, and the second hole is a par 5 down the hill, dogleg left, and I was going to scrunch the drive and try to get it home in 2, and I snap hooked it into the pine trees to the left, and it was so deep into the pines that nobody knows this, but there's a creek in there, a rock creek. And I found my ball, and I had a shot and an opening to get it back to the fairway. Dr. Harper says in his southern drawl, he says, "Hey, Jeff, we moved the ball out here if you hit it in that deep." So being respectful, I picked the ball up and I brought it out and dropped.
Local rules.
So I didn't have an official score because I brought it out to the fairway and as a But anyhow, I had a couple really interesting things happen there. The first day, the first guy I took was Dr. Bill Tucker. And he had played all over the world, but he'd never been to Augusta.
Yeah.
And
Well, who has? I mean, really.
Well, we got to number 11. I think I hit it over the green and made double bogey at 12. I mean, the par 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then 13, the dog leg left par, the famous Amen Corner par 5. I hit a really good drive, but I was up in the pine straw at the dogleg on the right side, and at the time I had a club, was the Baffler. It was called the Baffler Club.
I've heard of the. I remember the Baffler.
It was kind of ahead of its time, a hybrid almost.
Yeah.
And I said, Dr.
It was
Tucker,
like right along the Texas wedge situation,
and had the rails on the bottom.
Right.
And I said to Tucker, I said to Doc, I said, I'm going to hit this on the green, and it was about 230 yards, I guess.
Wow.
And I catch it just perfect. I hit it up there about 4 feet and made eagle.
Wow.
I made eagle after double bogey and 12 and making 5.
Oh my
so
gosh.
now I've played those even. But I mean, some of those holes, 10, 11, for me, they were hard.
My first trip to the Masters, I was right along, I want to say 12 or 13, and Ben Crenshaw hit it into the pine straw. And so he goes over there, and we're right there. And I see Ben Crenshaw almost whiff. I mean, he, if it gets in that pine straw and you go underneath the ball, it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it.
It's hard to keep your footing on that stuff too, because see, Pinehurst, that's what Pinehurst is known for.
Right.
As a matter of fact, here's a trivia story for you. Do you know pine straw is basically needles that fall from longleaf pines,
right,
and they turn golden reddish, and they're beautiful. I mean, and it's and if you hit it in the pine straw, you usually have to hit a special shot to get it back.
Right.
But another name for pine straw is duff.
Duff.
Duff. And so if you hit it into the pine straw or the duff, you're considered a duffer.
Is that where that comes from?
Where that comes from, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's where that came from.
My experience at Pinehurst number 2, my buddy Jimmy Strickland, who owned all the Krispy Kreme donuts here in town.
Right.
He takes me for my 40th birthday to Pinehurst, number 2. We're all set up. We get locked in. We get our caddies. His caddy was tremendous. His caddy could tell you everything about life. Yeah. My caddy, it's like his first day. Yeah. I don't know. and so anyway, we get around there and we're doing fine. And I can remember a conversation I had with my caddy. I said, so we're thinking about going after the round. We're going to go, like for a steak and a nice bottle of wine. I said, do you have any recommendations? And he thinks about it for a long time. He goes, the Golden Corral is pretty good. True story. So we get to 18, and 18 at Pinehurst number 2 is a back porch with people in rocking chairs that are watching you come in. Right. I get a number from my caddy. I mean, I'm not the best golfer in the world, but I'm pretty good in terms of if you tell me where to hit it and tell me what the number is. I hit it onto the porch, and you should have seen the people scatter. Oh, my gosh. They were out of there like rats off a sinking ship.
Oh, yeah. Well, that hole is just, Payne Stewart made that hole famous, didn't he? Well, what a deal. The caddy stories, you could write a whole book about Pinehurst caddies. And people here in Kansas City would probably remember Victor Fontana. He was the restaurateur.
The V.
I took Vico's, and I took Victor in a large group to Pinehurst one year, and Victor, to say the least, wasn't a professional golfer. He was a high handicapper.
Right.
But I got him a caddy named Fletcher, and there's a story in the book about Fletcher caddying for Victor, and Victor played the best round of his life on Pinehurst number 2 with that caddy. That caddy could have been made millions, thousands and thousands of dollars as a psychologist.
I played the best round of my life at St. Andrews 2 years ago with a great caddy, with a phenomenal caddy. And this guy I was more intrigued with his stories but he knew every angle. I was in a pot bunker, and he tells me, all right, Mike, you need to get down on one knee, put a towel down, get down on a knee, and just hit it out of there. And I go, what?
Yeah.
And he goes, and it worked.
Yeah.
And it got another pop. I mean, this guy was tremendous. But
Right.
you're right. I mean, those caddies make all the difference in the world.
Oh yeah, and they Fletcher could probably in about one hole figure you out,
Sure.
and know exactly how to handle you
And how to bet on you.
how to bet on you. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Those caddies
right.
do.
Oh, yeah, they do.
They do. It's a,
Yeah.
it's a game.
We had when I belonged to Wolf Creek. Obviously no caddies. You could have caddies out there if you wanted to, but I had a situation where Willie. Do you remember Willie Comisano?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you know that name?
Willie the Rat?
Oh yeah, Willie the Rat. Absolutely. I was in a tournament. It's another golf story. I was in a tournament. A buddy of mine called me up and he goes, "Hey, we're at Loch Lloyd. We're playing in this cancer tournament." And he said, "You want to play? We have an opening for a fourth." And I said, "It'd be great." And he said, "Okay, why don't you come on out? I will tell you that Willie Comisano's in the group." And I said, "Okay,
Yeah. Nice guy.
fine, great guy." Yeah. So we go out there. We end up in a scorecard playoff, and for some reason we win. And then you have to go down to, I think it was Lake of the Ozarks, to play in the state tournament then. And so we go down there with Willie, and Willie, it was interesting, as he's walking down the fairway, people are coming out from the trees to talk to Willie. He's doing a lot of business for some reason, and and I ended up with a friendship with Willie, and we played a lot of golf together. Yeah. And Willie at one point said, "You want to get in our game?" He said, "Can my cousins come?" And I said, "Sure." So his cousins came in. He said, "You want to get in our game?" I said, "What's the game?" He goes, "We just play for golf balls." And I said, "I'm good, Willie." I said, "I'm not sure what each golf ball represents."
Yeah.
But he's just a meticulous gentleman.
Yeah.
And
he used to play with Victor.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah. This is out of Shadow Glen, and he loved Shadow Glen, so he would come out all the time, and it was great.
Yeah.
Until he went to jail.
Yeah.
And then we didn't play long ago.
I put some grips on his clubs for him one time. And,
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he came out and I did them fast. They were taking a break to have lunch,
Right.
and I put those grips on. Yeah, it was really.
That could have been a chapter in your book, Grips and Yips. I was in a tournament one time at Wolf Creek where I was shanking the ball so badly that I stopped at number 9 and went in the pro shop. And it was either you or Rod that I talked to, and I said, I don't know what's going on. And they, maybe it was you or Rod, that gave me one little tip and took care of it.
Uh-huh.
It's amazing in golf, Jeff, how nuanced every situation is, right? I mean, that's what I'm trying to tell my wife. I go, I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you turn your foot one iota left, it's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I see. It's really interesting. It's just that example. If you turn your right-handed golfer, you turn your right foot out, you probably get a little better takeaway.
Right.
But if you turn your left foot out on the through, you probably get a better finish.
Right.
So that's why you got to find the happy median, and it's endless. It's like life. You just keep learning more and more the more you do.
And you can't stop thinking about it.
No, it's an obsession for sure.
It is, but it's something that that can be played your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite golfer of all time,
Arnie.
Was it Arnie?
Yeah.
And my wife is from Pennsylvania, so obviously Oakmont and Latrobe are big points of interest to me. Have you ever played Oakmont?
I've played Oakmont. Yeah, played with Marty Schottenheimer and Dick Savage.
You?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we played. That was fun. He was a member at Sharon Golf Club outside of Cleveland, between Cleveland and Akron, and we went over to play Oakmont and then down to Columbus and played some courses there, some pretty good ones.
Yeah. Hey, I've never played Sand Hills.
Going there Sunday.
Are you? Talk about that place a little bit.
Well,
That's a Ben Crenshaw, right?
Yeah, that golf course consistently, as well as it's been ranked for the last 30 years as the number one golf course in the world, built after 1960.
Wow.
And it's in the top 10 in the world.
It's in Nebraska.
And Sandhills of Nebraska. You know, it's so unique because if you were transported there and dropped in, you'd swear you'd say, "I'm in the UK, I'm in Ireland or Scotland."
Right.
The sand blowouts are incredible. I mean, it's. I've been a member there since 1995 when it opened, and
Well, you were kind of consulting on that, right?
well, it was really kind of fun because when Bill Coore and Crenshaw got involved, I knew Dick Youngscap, the developer, and we chartered a King Air, went up there, 8 of us, and we kind of saw it in the raw before the golf course was there, but no dirt had been moved.
Wow.
That's how
cool.
spectacular it is.
That's pretty cool.
And so it's minimalist sand. And so we were able to be on the ground floor. So there's like 165 members, and
165 members.
it's open 4 months out of the year.
Wow. Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
4 months open from Memorial Day until the 1st of October.
Oh,
and
wow.
that's it. And
So you're getting there on the last.
yeah, I love September there.
Yeah.
It's really great. But Bill Coore and Crenshaw had hooked up as partners. I think they did the plantation out in Hawaii course, and then they this sale. And I get a phone call one day, and Bill Coore, who's a really great friend, he says, "Jeff, you never guess where I am." Well, Jeff says, "Are you on Long Island? No. Are you in Massachusetts? No. Are you in Hawaii? No." I said, "Where are you, Bill?" He said, "I'm in North Platte, Nebraska." And this is 1993. I
Oh,
guess.
wow.
And he says, "What do you?" I said, "What the heck are you doing there?" He says, "Jeff, it's the craziest idea, but we're going to build a golf course in the Sandhills of Nebraska.
Wow.
There's 600 people in the entire county." Hooker County. It's all ranch country, and
Right.
You know, it's a fabulous place, and I mean, it's a bucket list place to go.
Sure.
And,
Sure.
I mean, and what a gift it's been to be able to entertain people from all over the country out there. I mean, people will fly from New York, pick me up here in Kansas City, and we'll go
Right.
up there, or Florida, or I mean, it's special. And if any Google it and look at some of the pictures, folks, it's really amazing. And
Jeff, you talk about Mo Norman.
yeah, Mo Norman.
And so Mo Norman, to me, is such an incredible story as a golfer, because this guy was, now we know that he, I guess, he was on the spectrum at some point, but he's known as the purest ball striker ever. And I actually went and took last year, I went to a Mo Norman clinic where they teach you the aspects of Mo Norman, because it's such a different swing. It's such a different swing.
Mechanical. Yeah.
Mechanical. And it's supposed to be better for your back. I did not find it so.
Right.
But it really taught me a lot of things about the golf swing, the natural golf swing, as opposed to the golf swing that is the conventional swing.
Right.
Did you talk about that a little bit?
Well, it's interesting how I got to meet Mo Norman.
And he used to have these clinics where he would hit golf balls with a piece of rubber and different. I mean, and just incredible.
He could put 3 irons in a circle as small as guys today will put a wedge.
Yeah.
But we Dave Little, a really good friend of mine, and I worked together at Johns Island in Vero Beach, and Dave knew that Mo Norman was practicing up in Melbourne, Florida, which was about 45 minutes north of Vero. And there's an old closed down air base, and there was a golf course there, and that's where he hung out. So we went up, and one morning we got there, and he would hit balls all day. I mean,
Really?
in a black shirt, long sleeve. And Mo was different.
And how old was Mo at this time, you think?
I would say he was probably in his mid-50s.
Okay.
And but he loved to have people watching. He loved to talk, and I guess Mo was autistic, and is what I think that's. But he would repeat things, and he'd say, "Straighter than Hogan, straighter than Hogan, straighter than Hogan." He'd say it 3 times, and boom, he'd be hitting 3 irons, 3 irons, and they'd be on a rope. Wow. I mean, it was unbelievable, and his hands were calloused to the point where you looked at him and it looked like, man, this isn't real.
Yeah.
And but he would do crazy things. I mean, there's so much been written about him. He'd play in Canadian Open, and if he wasn't putting well, he'd be leading the tournament, but he'd still quit. He wouldn't. He'd walk off the course. Or he probably was the best ball striker. I mean, I like Snead. I mean, I watch Snead hit balls, but Mo Norman, Mo Norman was incredible. I mean, we videoed him. We took notes. It was amazing. And I think toward the end of his life, Wally Uline with Titleist put him on retainer with Titleist,
right?
And because he was a down and out guy. I mean. But what an incredible story.
Has a totally different grip.
Yeah.
It kind of grips from the bottom of the club.
Yeah, and hands up like real high.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I took a few things away from that clinic.
Right.
Not everything, but I mean, it's helped me. You know, in my swing.
Yeah, I think to do what Mo Norman does, you have to hit thousands of balls.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I don't think many people will commit to that.
Hey, so while you're on that subject, what is your thoughts on? So you get to the golf course. Give me your routine. If you're if you're
good, because I'm really working on that right now.
Okay.
And what I'm doing now is I haven't played for quite a while. I've had some medical stuff done and hips and replaced and things like that.
You look fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm trying to become an athlete again. But routine. I like to stretch a little bit first and then start with a short club and hit a few easy, soft wedges, and then kind of, I guess the term break the adhesions.
Okay,
get started.
Right.
And
knock out the cobwebs.
Yeah, knock out the cobwebs, and then and I'll work through. And my practice routine these days is I'll hit 5 balls with every club in the bag, and then go back.
Okay.
But if you're going to play, I think
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so a great example, we'll go to Sandhills, and we'll be up there, and they'll put a little bag of balls on the cart, and there's a range on the way to the first tee. So you go there, and I will certainly stretch first, try to get loose, and I'll try to work through a couple shots with almost all the clubs, and then hit a couple drivers, but then I'll finish up with a couple short shots just for feel and finesse, and then. At Sandhills is so great because the putting green is right next to Ben's porch, which is the starters area and lunch place. It's fantastic. And you get on that putting green and just kind of get a feel for the speed of the fastest greens you'll see in the Midwest.
I was just going to say, how fast are those greens?
They're faster than grease lightning.
13?
Yeah, I would say that some of those are 13, And you get above the hole. You don't. You just really. But the greens are enormous generally. So I like to just kind of get in a mental frame, not smash shots, and just kind of. But one of the interesting things is I watched Tom Watson warm up a lot, and he would come out to the creek, and he could pull a 3-iron out of his bag and hit it at the first club.
Wow!
And I mean, this story isn't in the book and probably shouldn't be, but he was with testing some Bridgestone golf balls, and they brought all their people in from Atlanta, their engineers and stuff, and he was on the range, and he's got brand new balls there, they're all different. They're kind of marked to identify what they are.
Right.
You couldn't tell, but they were kind of seeing which. He was their machine to test it.
Right.
And so he's warming up with a 3-iron, and but he goes ahead and he's hitting 8-irons. I'll never forget this. And there's a guy, a fellow who happened to be Japanese. Bridgestone's a Japanese company out there, and he's got a radio, and he's kind of shagging the balls. And they say, "Oh, that's 147. That's 146. That's 148. That's one." And he said, and he turns to me and he winks, and he goes, 168. He just changed his tempo. And,
with an 8-iron.
With an 8-iron, yeah.
Oh, wow.
He just he leaned on it. And,
wow.
And he just, but it's interesting to see. I think everybody has a routine that probably has all the same ingredients, but it might be varied how they do it.
I told you about teaching my wife, and we go to the driving range, and I said, okay, so maybe you start with your sandwich. She goes, I want to hit my driver.
Yeah,
and I go, okay, hit your driver, and because to her. It's just more fun to hit your driver.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's what people go to the driving range for. They don't,
right.
I mean, you think about it. You hit 14 drives probably in an 18-hole round, and you hit how many putts do you hit?
And what is the stat, Jeff? About 80% of the shots in golf are within 100 yards or less, or something like that.
Right.
Where that's the most important part of the golf game.
Full circle here. That's why the Wheelings is so good.
Yeah.
Because
you're
learning to score. You're learning the scoring shots, the pitch, the chip, and the putt.
Yeah.
And
so where can people go to find out about that?
Website, good one. It's WEE dash links LINKS.com.
Okay, we'll put that up on the website as well.
Perfect. links.com.
I love that concept. I mean, nobody's doing that, right?
No, and it's really interesting because they're just an amenity that a golf course can add that'll just enhance the whole program. Like having a putting green or a practice bunker or a driving range, having a Wheelings is really great. And
before we conclude here, what are your thoughts on the Live Golf and what has happened recently? I mean, you've got this whole new league that was formed by what I call greedy guys.
Yeah.
and then you've got the purists that are still with the PGA, and all of a sudden now they're all together. What do you think about that?
Wow, there's a lot to be thought about.
Sure.
There.
Yeah.
At first, when it happened, of course, I think I was like the majority of people. I said, this isn't right.
Right.
And
that's exhibition golf.
Yeah. And then I got to thinking, the PGA Tour has been a monopoly for a long time.
True.
And I don't know if.
And this is something that this has been thought about before. I mean, years before, there were attempts to do
Nicklaus and Palmer.
Yeah, right.
They started about having spinning off a deal. Yeah,
right.
And but then I got to thinking, okay, what would I do? What would I do if I were Randy Miller and I had a great job?
Yeah.
And I was doing really well, and then somebody said, "Hey, we're going to triple, with no risk."
Right.
And you got to do this.
Right.
Right. I mean, I think, so I don't know. I'm, of course, the politics of the whole thing. I mean, the world is a mess. I mean, and there's a lot of things that aren't right here and around the world. And, but boy, I'll tell you, it's changed the landscape. I mean, the PGA Tour is totally different.
Because in some ways it really benefited the guys on the PGA Tour because now the purses are bigger.
They have 10 tournaments for $20 million.
Yeah,
10 tournaments, which is 10
tournaments for $20 million.
That's right.
I think that is right. Yeah. And then you got the FedEx. I mean, there's so many things that have improved for. Hey, when Arnold and Jack were playing, what was the average?
Oh gosh, I mean the Pinehurst tournament, when it was the richest tournament in America in '78, the Hall of Fame Classic, the total purse was $400,000, I think.
Wow.
The total purse for everybody.
For everybody.
Yeah. And
so the winner might get.
I don't know what
100.
Tom won it twice. Tom Watson won it twice. I don't know what he won in that. I don't think it would have been 100.
No, not even 100. Wow.
But that'd be fun to go back and look and see what some of those purses were because I'm
The other thing that
I'll
people
do that.
may not know about Tom Watson is that he puts on the biggest fireworks display for the 4th of July that I've ever seen in my life.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we lived at one point near Tom, and I didn't know it was Tom's house, but the 4th of July, I'm like, what is going on? And it was just this enormous fireworks display, and come to find out it's Tom.
His ranch.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, this is a great game, Randy.
It's
And
It's a
we're-
great game. It's a great book. It's called Blessed, Stories in the Life of a Golf Professional by Jeff Burey. Jeff, thanks for coming on, man. This has been fantastic.
Well,
And remind people again where they can get the book.
KansasGolfFoundation.org.
KansasGolfFoundation.org.
And
That is
and
great.
and I mean, they could even contact me at jbury1949@gmail.
1949, was that the year you were born?
Yes, sir.
I was born in 1959.
Okay, baby, you're just a baby.
So I'm just following your footsteps.
Okay.
Every 10 years I'm going to do, the Jeff Burey thing.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
You with John Wooden, just real quick. I mean, John Wooden was one of your
one of my heroes for
Heroes.
sure, and,
Yeah.
and probably everybody's hero. But I have a funny story. I in my office at Wolf Creek, I had John Wooden's Pyramid of Success.
Right.
And
That's the first thing I remember about
yeah.
you.
And he had personally written a note to me on it. I had it framed in my office. And then 13 months after my coming to Wolf Creek, we burned the clubhouse down by accident.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. There's a story in the book
You
about it.
were never blamed.
No, it was just it was an accident. I mean, they never really figured out what happened. But anyhow, that was a really a treasure to me. And so I wrote Mr. Coach Wooden a letter, and he sent me another one, and I have it framed in my office
That's
at
cool.
home now. And
That's so cool.
But I mean, my basketball
Because that's what you wanted to do.
Well, yeah. Well, basketball, in high school, I played on a state championship team with a fella, and we won the state championship in 1966. And together we scored 61 points. And the other guy, I
Wow.
scored 2.
Yeah, right.
And Calvin Murphy scored 59.
He said, that's what you said.
Yeah, Calvin
Yeah.
Murphy was my
Wow.
teammate, and so I was a junior that year. But what's really neat being at Pinehurst is all the Big Four, I call the Carolina Four, Wake, Duke, Carolina, and State, they all come to Pinehurst. So we knew all the coaches, and I got to meet Roy Williams when he was a high school coach.
Really?
Yeah, he came to Pinehurst to play golf, and we became friends. We're same age. And so when Roy went on staff at Carolina, he was selling programs for his salary.
Yeah.
And he would come down to Pinehurst, and we had a great mutual friend in Dr. Dick Coop, who was a professor at Chapel Hill. And so I really got to know Roy and then Wanda, his wife. And
What kind of golfer was Roy?
Good, really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, Roy, George, and Marty. Roy Williams, George Brett, and Marty Schottenheimer did a fundraiser for me in Lawrence, in Eudora, a sunflower skins game. And the chemistry was unbelievable.
I'll bet.
And we had 4,000 people at little old driving range golf course.
Not only the chemistry, but the competition.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy, I know we're running here, but there's a funny thing. Marty as a coach and Roy as a coach, before this event, they came over and practiced and played. George as a player, a confident person, he came over blind. He had never played the course before.
Right.
He didn't even want to play a practice round.
Right.
He came over and played.
Oh, wow.
But that was a great day. Marty won the day.
Marty won it, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
They're all 3 good golfers.
Yeah.
We're really good golfers. Yeah. Well, thank you so
Jeff,
much.
this has been so great, man. Great catching up to you. Great book, and just continued success with everything you're doing.
Well, thank you. And I mean, heck, I'm 74, and I feel like I'm just beginning.
Yeah,
This is fun.
yeah, you are.
It's fun.
RandyMillerRadio.com.
RandyMillerRadio.com